Have you ever wondered about the ancient civilizations that thrived in the territory now known as Bolivia? Let's delve into the past and explore the marvels of the Tiwanaku and Inca civilizations. The Tiwanaku culture, predating the Incas, was a society advanced in agriculture, employing intricate systems of irrigation and crop rotation. They were also skilled engineers, constructing monumental structures that continue to impress modern architects. The Inca civilization, on the other hand, expanded their empire into what is now Bolivia in the 15th century. Like the Tiwanaku, they too showcased proficiency in agriculture and engineering. Their cultural achievements, including a complex social system and a vast network of roads, set them apart. These civilizations, though separated by time, left lasting legacies, shaping the course of Bolivia's history. Their advanced knowledge in various fields laid the foundation for future societies. The influence of these civilizations is evident in modern Bolivia, a testament to their endurance. Bolivia's history took a dramatic turn with the arrival of the Spanish conquistadors. Around the 16th century, Francisco Pizarro, a Spanish explorer, led a conquest into the heartland of the Inca Empire, a territory that encompassed present-day Bolivia. With the fall of the Inca, Spanish colonial rule was established under the Viceroyalty of Peru. Bolivia's abundant natural resources, particularly the silver mines in Potosi, became a focal point of Spanish exploitation. These mines yielded immense wealth for the Spanish crown, but at a devastating cost to the indigenous population. Alongside this, the encomienda system was introduced. This was a labor system where the Spanish encomenderos were granted the right to compel indigenous people to work in their mines and farms. It was, in essence, a form of forced labor that further entrenched the harsh realities of colonial rule. This period of exploitation and colonial rule marked a significant chapter in Bolivia's history. The creation of the Viceroyalty of La Plata in 1776 marked a new era in Bolivia's history. This administrative change by the Spanish crown aimed to improve control over its South American territories. However, it fueled a surge of indigenous resistance against Spanish rule. One of the most notable uprisings was led by Tupac Katari, an Aymara leader. His rebellion in the late 18th century rallied thousands of indigenous people in a siege against La Paz, the seat of Spanish power. Even though Katari's rebellion was ultimately suppressed, his fight symbolized the enduring spirit of indigenous resistance. The impact of colonialism on indigenous communities was profound, manifesting in forced labor, cultural assimilation, and the dispossession of ancestral lands. Yet these communities were not merely passive victims. They resisted, adapted, and survived, leaving an indelible mark on Bolivia's national identity. Despite the odds, indigenous communities resisted, shaping the course of Bolivia's history. The early 19th century was a time of upheaval and change in Bolivia. As the winds of independence started to sweep across South America, Bolivia was not left untouched. The struggle for freedom from Spanish rule was a fierce and protracted one, led by heroic figures such as Simón Bolívar and Antonio José de Sucre. These leaders, fueled by the desire for sovereignty, spearheaded the fight against colonial rule, inspiring their fellow countrymen to rise and join the cause. The road to independence was fraught with challenges, but the Bolivian spirit remained indomitable. After years of relentless struggle, in August of 1825, the dream finally became a reality. The Republic of Bolivia was formed, named in honor of Simón Bolívar, a testament to his instrumental role in Bolivia's fight for freedom. With independence, Bolivia began to carve out its own destiny. Bolivia's history is marked by territorial disputes and wars. A notable conflict in Bolivia's past is the War of the Pacific, which took place from 1879 to 1884. In this war, Bolivia and its ally Peru faced off against Chile in a dispute over valuable nitrate deposits in the Atacama Desert. Unfortunately for Bolivia, the war ended in defeat. The most significant outcome of this conflict was the loss of Bolivia's coastal territories, which included the resource-rich region of Antofagasta. This loss was more than just a geographical setback. It resulted in Bolivia becoming a landlocked country. This new status brought about unique challenges for Bolivia, especially in terms of trade and access to global markets. The loss of direct access to the sea has been a source of national discontent and diplomatic tension ever since. Bolivia's territorial losses had profound implications for its future. In the late 19th and early 20th centuries, Bolivia underwent a significant economic transformation. The story of this change begins with a gleam of tin. Deep within the Andean highlands, vast deposits of this versatile metal were discovered. Tin, with its myriad of uses from cans to construction, from solder to superconductors, was in high demand globally. This discovery ignited the growth of a mining industry that would redefine Bolivia's economic landscape. As mines sprung up across the highlands, jobs were created, and cities grew. But the transformative power of tin didn't stop at Bolivia's borders. Word of this metal wealth spread, attracting an influx of foreign investment. Entrepreneurs and companies from around the world flocked to Bolivia, eager to stake a claim in the tin rush. This influx of capital and expertise further fueled Bolivia's burgeoning mining industry. This economic boom marked a new era in Bolivia's history. The Chaco War between Bolivia and Paraguay has left an indelible mark on Bolivia's history. Fought over the Gran Chaco region from 1932 to 1935, this conflict resulted in the tragic loss of thousands of lives. The war was a territorial dispute driven by nationalism and the belief that the Chaco held vast oil reserves. It was a brutal conflict characterized by trench warfare and the harsh conditions of the Chaco region itself. The war ended with Bolivia suffering a significant loss of territory to Paraguay. The defeat was a devastating blow to Bolivia, sparking a period of intense nationalism and introspection. This event significantly impacted Bolivian society, leading to a re-evaluation of the nation's military, political, and economic systems. It was a catalyst for change, spurring the growth of indigenous rights movements and calls for social reform. The Chaco War and its aftermath shaped Bolivia's national identity. Political instability has been a recurring theme in Bolivia's history. The 20th century was particularly tumultuous, marked by a series of military coups and dictatorships. These periods of authoritarian rule were often characterized by human rights violations and economic mismanagement. One of the most notable figures from this era is Hugo Banzer, a military officer who seized power in 1971. He ruled with an iron fist, suppressing opposition and overseeing a period of economic decline. Another infamous leader was Luis Garcia Mesa, who took power in a violent coup in 1980. His rule was marked by extensive corruption and human rights abuses. These periods of instability have had lasting effects on Bolivia, creating challenges for democratic governance. However, they also demonstrate the resilience of the Bolivian people, who have continually sought to reclaim their rights and reshape their country's future. Despite these challenges, the Bolivian people have persevered. Bolivia's history is also a history of struggle and resistance. A pivotal chapter of this narrative is the rise of indigenous rights movements and social struggles. For centuries, indigenous communities were marginalized, their voices suppressed, and their rights overlooked. But they refused to be silenced. They rallied, they protested, they fought, demanding recognition, representation, and respect. Their efforts culminated in the election of Evo Morales, Bolivia's first indigenous president. A former coca farmer and union leader, Morales symbolized a seismic shift in Bolivian politics. His election was a triumph for the indigenous rights movement, an affirmation of their struggle, and an acknowledgement of their place in Bolivian society. But the struggle was not over. Issues of land reform, cultural recognition, and political representation continued to be contested battlegrounds. These movements have reshaped Bolivia's political landscape. Their struggle is a testament to the power of the people to effect change and shape their own destiny. The presidency of Evo Morales marked a significant turning point in Bolivia's history. Ascending to power in 2006, Morales, the country's first indigenous president, brought a wave of change. His socialist policies aimed at reducing poverty and inequality while enhancing the rights of the indigenous population. He nationalized key industries, redistributed land, and rewrote the constitution to recognize Bolivia as a plurinational state, acknowledging the diverse ethnic groups that form its population. However, his presidency was not without controversy. Critics argued that his policies often conflicted with environmental conservation, leading to deforestation and tension with indigenous communities. Accusations of autocratic tendencies and refusal to heed term limits also marred his tenure. Despite these controversies, there's no denying that Morales reshaped Bolivia's political landscape, championing the rights of the marginalized and challenging the status quo. The Morales era has left an enduring impact on Bolivia. Today, Bolivia is a country of diverse social movements and challenges. These movements, driven by a vibrant civil society, are tackling issues such as poverty, inequality, and environmental degradation. They are pushing for sustainable development and social justice, fighting for the rights of indigenous communities, labor unions, and environmental activists. Challenges abound in the form of poverty and inequality, with a significant portion of the population still living below the poverty line. Environmental degradation too poses a threat, as unregulated mining and deforestation endanger Bolivia's rich biodiversity and the livelihood of its people. Yet amidst these challenges, there is a continuous search for sustainable development. Efforts are underway to balance economic growth with environmental conservation and social equity. As the country grapples with these complex issues, it is the resilience of its people and their relentless pursuit of social justice that stands out. As we look to the future, Bolivia continues to write its own history, shaped by its past, but looking towards a future full of possibilities.